Welcome back. You're with us here on Opening Fire. 20 minutes to the pre-open session. Dr. Surjit Bhalla, as always, joins in, Chairman at Oxis Investments from Delhi. Mr. D.K. Joshi is Principal Economist at Crisil. He's with us as well. Good to have you back with us, Mr. Joshi, here on the show. Thanks very much, both of you. Dr. Bhalla, let's start with the U.S. manufacturing ISM numbers first off. You know, bucked all regional surveys, bucked the overall expectations. And I think the bigger point is, start of the year, most macro numbers out of the US were looking wobbly, were looking strong actually. Then they all turned slightly negative. They were attributed to weather-related issues, etc. This kind of is one important number which for the first time has bucked the trend. And is that telling us that, once again, the macro headline numbers will turn around?
Well, we have to wait. You're absolutely right. I mean, this was a big surprise. And, you know, unlike India and China, etc., this is a much, much longer series, goes back to 30 years. And they have really refined the series such that there is reasonably good information content in it. And for it to have a surprise of, 1 point is a huge number. Now, we'll have to wait and see till Friday. Today, if you will, the payroll numbers come out, which is the ADP survey, but the real numbers come out on Friday. If that confirms it, that is, if the number is reasonably strong, somewhere around 170 to 200,000, then I think the world economy and especially the US is looking at another significant leg up. So I think, basically I would be cautious. This is a surprise number, got everybody flat-footed because we were all thinking that, and some people were even talking about a double dip, again, like it did last year. So I think it does put a dampener on the double dip, but really we'll be more confident come Friday.
But, I mean, is this normalization of the data in a way, Dr. Bhalla?
No, this is not, they don't have the data problems that we have. So I wouldn't read any such conspiracy theories into it, that the data are becoming normal. No, this is a genuine, surprising, strong number for US manufacturing. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, what I meant was, I mean, as these so-called weather-related issues get worked through, and you've spoken about this here on the show as well, I mean, the data is normalizing. I mean, not getting changed or revised. Yes.
No. Yeah. Well, I don't think, I don't know actually whether seasonal adjustments play that strong a role in these PMI data, which they do in the payroll data, for example. The weather is a very strong factor. I'm not so sure whether, but I think, if you will, they are more refined than most other PMIs. So in the US, seasonal adjustments are de rigueur. It's almost required before you put out a series, before it has any credibility. And I believe, therefore, that this one is more robust than otherwise. And, a lot of people around the world, I mean, just like we are talking about it, this basically has information. So the national purchasing managers who puts out the survey, they'll have to be really worried if they don't do the proper adjustments and come out with a misleading indicator. But that can often happen in the case of the Indian indices or the Chinese indices or some of the developing country indices.
Okay. All right. Got that. Got that. I just want to talk about, something that the Financial Express is carrying this morning, Dr. Bhalla. So the Mines Ministry asked for the Attorney General's advice on, how mines should be given out, right?
Yeah.
The Attorney General has said that it can allocate, the ministry can allocate leases on first come, first served basis and does not necessarily have to go via the auctions route. And this comes in the backdrop of the Supreme Court directive. How do you read this, Dr. Bhalla? This is important, yes.
I think, there is a beginning to be, I mean, I also read the article, and what I would read it as, look, there's beginning to be a recognition that whether it is policy paralysis on the part of the government, whether it is a Supreme Court action, whether it is civil society, whatever, we are in a complete mess with nothing happening. And maybe behind the scenes, people are meeting and deciding that, listen, enough is enough. There's a lot of backlog of projects that cannot get started because of this whole procedure with auction, etc. And so I think, I read that as positive, that the Attorney General has come out and said that we can proceed with a first-come, first-served basis. And, I believe that it'll be a lot more transparent now, that given all the stuff that we've been through the last 3 years about non-transparency in allocations, the auction is not the only way to, if you will, sell resources. So I think maybe we'll get back to slightly more normal procedure, and in which case I think that'll be a huge positive for the Indian economy and for Indian industry and for Indian growth. We've been in a stalemate for far too long.
It's interesting because everybody jumped up, and we've spoken about this quite a bit here over the last couple of weeks, that, is auction really the best way to go about things for everything, all natural resources? So the article goes on to say the observations, and this is according to the Attorney General, the observations in the Supreme Court judgment on transfer of natural resources were genuinely made in order to justify the cancellation of the telecom licenses. So it would be wrong to extrapolate that to, giving out all natural resources. And that's important. That's this distinction is kind of important to make. Mr. D.K. Joshi is with us as well. Mr. Joshi, what are you picking up? So U.S. ISM numbers have come in stronger than expectations. Dr. Bhalla was pointing out that more evidence needs to come in, but certainly good news for people who were sort of looking for upticks, minor but consistent upticks in macro variables.
Well, I think I'll be very cautious, because I think over the last 1 to 1.5 years, what we've been seeing in US is that what looks like an early spring turns out to be a harsh winter. So I think you have to wait for some more time, look at other evidence to support this data. But yeah, I think it's definitely a positive surprise. But I would still be very cautious, because the fundamental problems in US still exist. The economy is still on a deleveraging mode, and the housing market is yet to pick up in a convincing manner. So there are issues, and I think what also happens, I think going ahead is, I think there are some fiscal uncertainties. I don't know how they'll pan out. So there are clear risks to U.S. growth going ahead. But yeah, I think any bit of positive news is good at this juncture.
Yes, definitely. Dr. Bhalla, let's talk about the presidential elections here in India. It's turning out into, I don't know what to call it, an exciting sort of an event. How do you read this as things are unfolding? Congress is saying something, BJP is saying something, but both parties aren't really saying anything definitive, till now at least.
Well, we talked about this last week, etc. And, I just think the month May has started off on a very positive footing, if you will. We had, as we just discussed, the fact that the auction may not be the only route to go through with natural resources. There might be some grants made. We have the US data, which is positive and a surprise. And if you will, this whole noise about the presidential election, which last week looked like it could be into a real slugfest, now appears to be settling down, that maybe we'll go through this procedure reasonably okay. There won't be any big tension about the government falling and so on and so forth, and the Congress may be able to nominate and get support for its person. So what has come out from this is that, Sushma Swaraj made the statement about how Mr. Ansari was not fit to be, if you will, the president. And very correctly, that has rankled a lot of people, and thinking that this is way out of line for a leader of the BJP to state that. And I think now this helps support whoever candidate, if you will, that the Congress party can come up with. And the two names that are really floating around are Ansari and Pranab Mukherjee. And I think they will be broadly acceptable to people on both sides of the aisle. So, I think maybe political uncertainty is just a little bit less today than it was yesterday.
Right. No, Dr. Balla, but I think the BJP is essentially ruling out support for any Congress candidate, right? That's their stance.
Yeah, I think this is...
Yeah.
Yeah. My view on the politics of both the BJP and the Congress is that they follow each other in the mistakes. Each one is trying to excel the other as to who can make most stupid mistakes. And I think the statement by Ms. Swaraj was clearly a mistake in my view.
Okay.
The aggression and the kind of posturing, which is quite unnecessary. We're saying, look, we won't support any Congress candidate, the vice president is not fit, etc. So I think my view is it was a huge mistake on the part of the BJP.
Got it. Mr. Joshi, I mean, any implications and any indications, more importantly, to essentially the political stalemate with regards to reforms that you draw from this entire presidential elections business?
Well, I think I'll keep the reforms, out of the presidential stuff.
Yes.
I think, but let me just comment on the mining issue, I think, which you had raised, and then
Yes.
I'll come to the reforms.
Yes.
I think from the perspective of manufacturing growth or industrial growth, I think it's very critical to set the mining right. I mean, if you look at the performance of last year, the mining sector contracted. Now, I'm told that there's about 20,000 megawatt of power ready to go on steam, but the coal is not available. So I think if these are the bottlenecks which are binding on industrial production right now, on electricity production. So I think these need to be sorted out first. I think if you address these issues, I think you'll see some positive implication for industrial growth. I think then come the reforms. They have a positive effect, but I think right now we need to sort out these procedural issues first. I think the land acquisition is the other one, which needs a quick solution, because I think it creates uncertainty for investments. So I think we should. And we have also seen that some bottlenecks got created in the last couple of months. I mean, the foreign investment, the GAR-related issues. I think they also dampen the investment climate. Bit. So I think we need to sort these things out first, and then I think the reforms will require a consensus and will take a long time. I think they're not going to happen in a hurry.
All right, got it. Dr. Balla, Mr. Joshi, thanks very much, both of you, for joining in here in this debate. Appreciate you coming on board and sharing your thoughts and insights. We're taking a quick break here. There's about 6 minutes, a little over 6 minutes to go for the pre-open session. Back with you in 2 minutes. 9 a.m. pre-open session. Bharati number still waiting for those, should be out anytime now.